28 Days Later is amazing. It's one of the best zombie movies I've seen in years and has taken up a great and noble position of being one of my favourite movies of all time. There aren't many films that provoke such a raw and poignant reaction from me. A film that stays in my head and resonates with me days after watching it. All the praise this film has garnered is 100% deserved, and I'm incredibly upset with myself that I let it sit on my Blu-ray shelf gathering dust for such a long time. So, I should get into the reasons why I like this movie so much. The film was directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland. Danny Boyle's name is instantly recognisable as he's known for films such as Trainspotting, Shallow Grave, and of course Slumdog Millionaire. Garland's name, whilst likely to ring a bell, hasn't reached the auteur status of Boyle. He's recently, however, gained much more notoriety for recent films he's directed, such as Ex Machina and Annihilation, which came out last year. Both of these talents use their skills to craft a great movie and is the embodiment of the perfect fusion of screenwriter and director. Boyle uses his grimy and urban aesthetic seen in films of his such as Trainspotting and Shallow Grave to craft the world of a ruined England through bleak and desolate shots and a hazy, fuzzy view on the events of the story to create a dream/nightmare-like experience. Frenetic editing and quick succession of shot types creates a world in which you rarely feel safe. In a blink of an eye, any character could face an untimely demise at the hands of the infected, which keeps the audience constantly on edge. Combined with this is Alex Garland's contemplative, character-driven script, which contains thought-provoking ideas about what would happen to the world, or rather a country, if it were almost wiped out in a couple of days due to a rapidly spreading and nightmarish pandemic that no one, not even government, can solve. Most of Garland's scripts contain relevant commentary on modern-day issues. For example, Ex Machina with its commentary on the role of artificial intelligence in the future and internet privacy. Annihilation with a story serving as an allegory for cancer and the debate of whether or not we should meddle in the experimentation of human, animal and plant cells. 28 Days Later is no exception. The film opens with animal rights activists attempting to free rage-infected monkeys from what they believe to be a facility which is torturing the animals. But unbeknownst to them, they are meddling in things they don't quite understand, thus unleashing pandemic. Parallels can be drawn between this and other outbreaks of disease throughout recent history. Mad cow disease, Ebola, rabies, and foot and mouth disease. Do we know how to react in that scenario? Are we the bringers of our own demise through some misguided attempt at helping people? Does our government know what they would do if a pandemic swept the nation? These are just a select few of the questions Garland proposes with his script. Both of these talents combined creates one of the best writer-director duos. Both of their respective styles combine to create the perfect team and gives the movie a ton of cohesion. Speaking of a well-crafted world, the setting of 28 Days Later is so fantastically realised and inspired. We are introduced to an England that is both similar yet fantastical, an abandoned England devoid of all life except for the horrific shadows of former people that prowl the barren streets at night. This entire concept for the setting makes the film almost seem like a constant dream. During the day, the roads and buildings are completely deserted. The only thing that fills the spaces of former lives are pieces of trash, relics of the past, and a deafening claustrophobic silence which is only broken up by Jim's harrowing screams for life. No! During the dark, however, the setting's tone changes dramatically. Morbidly peaceful, desolate days are replaced by a constant barrage of noise from the infected, and a never-ending feeling of paranoia and sorrow. The set designers really hit it out of the park when it came to doing the setting justice, and it also helps to tie into the film's theme of dreams and Jim's search for a father figure. As mentioned earlier, the film is shot and laid out to give the audience the feeling that they are either in a dream or a nightmare. Boyle's decision to shoot on digital as opposed to film, whilst also being used to give the film an urban and personal aesthetic, so as to make the entire film feel more like a dream we would have. It's fuzzy, disjointed, and we can't make out all the details. Much like Jim, we are a stranger in this new world, one that we are seemingly awake in but have trouble coming to terms with and distinguishing what is and what isn't real. Some of the more joyous moments of the film are presented in a lot more clarity and focus. When the group are shopping for their favourite foods, the shop is miraculously well lit and has a ton of vibrant colours to emphasise the shift in tone from when we start the film. I've always hated shaky cam movies. I think it's usually used as an incredibly cheap way to mask any poor choreography or lack of blocking, and as a decision made from pure idleness as opposed to something that enhances the film. However, its implementation in 28 Days Later is used to great effect. Instead of it being a lazy way to mask a poor action scene, it's only used sparingly and when it needs to be. Its implementation is usually to break silent, ever-building tension, and give the audience a surprise as well as making the film seem more chaotic than it actually is.
I'll start working on them then.
Throughout the majority of 28 Days Later, the use of shot types is rather plain. There's not a lot of dynamicism in the camera movements during dialogue or intimate moments. So this sudden shift in camera movement makes the watcher feel more and more uneasy, which adds to the fear, which makes you connect with the characters more and feel what they're feeling. It's a great example of working with your flaws and problems with production and making it work spectacularly in your favour. You have shitty cameras? Then make it in service to the story and accomplish shot types that would be difficult on film. You've got limited budget and can't hire many actors for Infected? Then play on the fear of the unknown. Make it so you're more afraid of what you don't see, and when you do see them, edit it so it's frenetic enough for the audience not to be able to make out the number of actors on screen. You don't have long to shoot in London on such a cheap budget? Use the fact that you're on digital to your advantage. You can set up cameras quick, you can shoot quicker, make locals more willing to assist in production. It's the perfect example of using shortcuts and restrictions in a way that benefits the film, and I always love this kind of ingenuity in filmmaking. The climax is fantastic. All concepts the film sets up are paid off. Jim's search for a father figure and his fear of loneliness. The transformation man must undertake to adapt to the change of a more violent, brutal world. A conclusion to Jim's character arc, and it just feels satisfying to see the closest thing the film has to an antagonist get their comeuppance. Suffice it to say, I really love this movie. It's got great direction, writing, cinematography, concept, set design and editing. However, this doesn't mean that there weren't a few minuscule things that bothered me. Firstly, Megan Burns, the actress who played Hannah, really didn't work for me. She hardly emoted in any way through her physical performance, and she has the most monotone, ear-grating, scratching, crawling, tired voice in the 7 Seas.
Or die here. And anyway, it isn't true what Dad said. You need us just the same as we need you. We need each other. And we'll never be safe in the cities. The soldiers could keep us safe. So we have to try and get there.
Makes it pretty hard to connect with her character when every line she utters makes me wince. Her dialogue is fine, it's just the performance I have a problem with. I can't blame anything else for that, unless it was part of her direction from Boyle, in which case it doesn't work as intended and could possibly be sold by a better actress. Otherwise, perfect. Good job, Boyle. 10 out of 10.